Welcome listeners to episode 39 of the Running Guide podcast, where I aim to provide informative content and interviews with elite athletes and health professionals from around the world, like in today's episode, where I'm welcoming back to the show a Victorian runner who's competing at the elite level on the domestic and international scene for well over a decade now, and will next month jump on a plane to compete at his second consecutive Olympic Games marathon. Welcome to the Running Guide podcast, once again, Liam Adams. Hey Liam, how you going?
Thanks. Not too bad, yourself?
Yeah, excellent. You were saying off air before that you're in Canberra. What's that all about?
We a couple of weeks ago, we had a race in Launceston that we were all looking to do, and we kind of got blocked from doing that.
It was a bummer, wasn't it?
The COVID issues in Melbourne. So we're getting towards the 2-week mark, leading into Gold Coast Marathon, and we kind of had to make a decision whether we were going to run the gauntlet or basically like look for other options so that we could get into Queensland. Because up until today there was a 2-week quarantine going into Queensland for Melburnians. So we were just looking at ways that we could do it, and the way we could bypass that was to spend 2 weeks beforehand in Canberra, and that way we could still train like normal and then go straight up to Queensland without any issues. So, as of today, they announced that Melburnians and Victorians are allowed up. So it's good to hear that everyone else will be coming up to do the race.
Okay, yeah. So I didn't realise you guys were actually in Victoria, in Melbourne.
We spent a little bit of time up in Cairns. We were doing a little 10-day heat acclimatization training camp, and we were just testing out things like hyperhydration and kind of gut training and nutrition for the race, and just like a little bit of acclimatization towards the heat. So we're up in Cairns it was supposed to be 10 days, but we had to come back early to make sure we got the first COVID jab. So we didn't get the full day 10 days up there, but currently at the moment Ali Pashley's up in Noosa doing some training.
Yeah, because I just thought, maybe you guys were trying to avoid going back to Victoria because it's obviously had its issues with COVID. So I thought, that made sense that you guys are staying out of Victoria, but you actually have been back there. Okay.
Yeah, we had to come back just for the jabs. We couldn't get our injections up in Cairns, so we had to come back, and we all had plans.
Is that because you're Victorian, you have to have the jab in Victoria, or what do you mean you had to?
I'm not quite sure. I think the Queensland athletes had to do it in Brisbane and stuff like that, so we'd have to fly to Brisbane or whatever else, but they couldn't get it organised, so we had to come back to Victoria early and do that. We all had plans to go back up to Queensland to do some heat acclimatisation, and I think everyone was in the same boat, and they were all looking to get into Queensland, and that straight after Gold Coast Marathon, and that was going to be their large stint leading into the Olympics.
So when did you actually stop working?
Basically last week. So I got the call maybe on Tuesday, and they said, we're still getting no responses from the Queensland government on exemptions or anything like that. So I was basically told on Tuesday that the telework, given very short notice, that I wasn't going to be able to work from then on in. So last week was my last day of work.
Yeah, okay. So it's not as if you've been off for 4 weeks just hanging out in Cairns and training full time. You've still been shuffling work in between it all.
Yeah. So I've been pumping out roughly 200k weeks and working 40-hour weeks. So
wow, nothing's changed, mate.
Nothing much. But I was getting a little bit tired through that period. And I was like, pretty much every day after work, I was just needing a nap straight after work. And just before the training, and then I found out just over a week ago, like last week, that I had a low ferritin levels and a few other issues. So so that kind of explains why I was a little bit tired between work and running.
Yeah, what, low enough to need the infusion or injection?
Yeah, needed an infusion. So my ferritin levels were 16, and I think your normal range is supposed to be between 30 and 320. But yeah, mine was 16, so it was pretty low.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was 32, so I have to pop the pills for 3 months, mate. So yeah, but
Okay,
yeah, I sort of know how it feels, but yeah, 16, that's certainly getting down there. But the hematocrit
yeah.
and everything was fine, like it hadn't dropped that down much.
So the other things, which were wrong, which were quite low as well, was white blood cell count, red blood cell count, and that was pretty much the main ones.
Yeah.
That and the ferritin.
Oh, that's good. At least you know that, there's a bit of an answer there why you were fatigued, apart from obviously working and running. But it sort of gives you a bit of hope that you're actually going to come good.
Exactly, yeah. So I had a couple of like average type sessions, which I was a little bit disappointed with, but I was still having some really good sessions.
Yeah.
And I just thought maybe I was a little bit tired and whatever else. So having that diagnosis kind of gives me confidence that once this infusion kicks in and stuff like that, I'll be well on top of things and I'll be running even better than what I was. So
no, fantastic. That's good. And what the process takes like half a day or something, doesn't it, for a transfusion? It's not like in and out, is it?
No, this one wasn't that long. So I think it might have been about 15 to 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes in total, and then you just sit there for half an hour and they just make sure everything goes fine. Make sure too sick from it.
I was speaking to someone who recently had it done, and she was saying there was half a day it took, and it wasn't cheap. And she said she felt nauseous maybe once or twice, but it was like 5 days after the transfusion. But then after that, it was fine. So
I wasn't feeling too great for a couple of days. I think I felt a little bit, the immune system and everything was a bit low, and didn't feel that great for maybe 4 days, and then I've done a few hard sessions since then. A marathon session on Tuesday, and I think I did my best marathon session for a while. So well, in this particular session, it was my best one of that particular session. So
do they even look at the bloods again in a couple of weeks to see how much it's improved, or they just assume that it's going to be good and they don't worry about it?
Well, I haven't spoken to the Olympic doctor about that, but I think I should get another blood test done in a couple of weeks' time just to see how the levels are going. And I'm pretty sure that that's probably what they'll recommend. To get done.
Just be interested to see how much it boosts that ferritin level up. You know, if it's like, is it 50 or is it 100? It'd just be interesting to know.
Well, it'd be good to know how much of an effect it has, but it'd also be good to know where my baseline level is. So.
So, do you regularly look at your bloods? Like, was that a shock to you? Like, if you normally had your ferritin looked at and it's been okay?
It seems I only really get blood tests done when I'm doing a medical screening for Olympic teams or Commonwealth Games teams. So that's the only times I've ever really got it done. But each time I kind of get it done, they keep saying, "Oh, your ferritin's a little bit low." You might need to have some Ferrograd C or something like that.
It was obviously never under that 30 that it made the alarm bells go off, but it might have just been in that 30 to 40 range or something.
Well, I don't think I've actually seen the physical ranges before. My physical ranges. So I don't know what the last few readings were. So it would be good to know what they were and if it's a regular issue or if I'm just naturally really low all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, that data should be somewhere. I mean, I can look at all my numbers all the way back for decades, you know. So it'll be sitting around somewhere, for sure. All right, mate. Let's. What I want to do is just sort of refresh for the listeners the 2016 campaign. Obviously, the run into Tokyo was a little bit better, with less tribulation than the Rio. So you went over to Chicago, and that's when you had your first problem with one of your hamstrings. So that was October 2015. You headed over to Biwa in 2016, and believe it or not, the other hammy went on you. And you realised you sort of bled so much time there, and sort of realising you weren't actually going to make that qualifying time. I guess you made the tough decision, and it was your first DNF of your career to pull out, and I think that was at the 37k mark. Is that right?
Probably around 34 or 35k from memory, something around that. Yeah, Chicago, the hammy twinged at about maybe the halfway mark, and then it just kept pulling. And I think I had to stop maybe 3 or 4 times to stretch it out, and I kept running on it, and I bled a heap of time in that race.
You still ran a
And
2:16:29, so it was still a good result, wasn't it? Yeah.
I wasn't too far off the qualifying standard, but
What pace were you running on at the 25-30K mark? Were you sort of sitting around that qualifying time, or were you running quicker than that?
Well, before I started having the hamstring issues, I was probably on about 2:10:30 to 11:30 pace, something around that.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was feeling really comfortable, and I kind of got myself stuck with 3 guys. We were kind of isolated, and it was a really windy day, and I kind of thought this was like a really windy section from about 20 through to about 30K, and I kind of had the idea of I'll work with this pack and kind of then just storm it home in the last 12K, and had the hamstring issues, and they just started twinging, and then just basically limped the whole way back to the finish line. And there's a race director's car following me along that race, and they thought I was going to pull out, but strangely, even though I was limping towards the finish line, I was still passing a few of the Kenyans, which went out a bit too hard. I think I finished the race in 11th place.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
was there a time that you were chasing for in that race, or was there a time that you felt you had to hit to get the qualifying time?
I kind of just thought I was in sub 2:11 shape. Yeah, I had done some really good training, and definitely knew I was in some really good shape. But kind of in my last basically threshold before the race, I came around a corner and twinged my hamstring. My my landing foot slid from underneath me as I was going around a corner. So my inside leg, it slipped through and pulled the hamstring a little bit. I don't know. I think I did a couple of sessions between hurting my hamstring to the race where I probably did it a little bit too hard, because I kind of wanted to get some confidence back that my hamstring was good. And I don't know, I did some silly mistakes there as well. I did think I was in some good shape.
So you come back from Chicago. Did you have Biwa as the next race in your mind then, or was it a matter of seeing how long it took to come good, rehab this hammy?
Well, I kind of knew that the hamstring wasn't like a serious strain or anything like that. I just knew it was just a issue, like maybe a neural type of issue, and I should be able to get rid of it pretty quickly. And I don't think it took too long to rehab and get over. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks for it to get back to normal, and then I was training like normal after that. And we penciled in Lake Biwa. I thought that was going to be the best option for me to run a qualifier.
And in between those, when you said 3 or 4 weeks, is that just recovery that it came good, or did you actually have to do some sort of recovery in the gym, like some strength and conditioning? Or
I was doing just a little bit of light running and that, just to kind of just recover from the marathon, but also try and get over the hamstring issues too. So I did do some rehab stuff in the gym and some like stretching stuff and try and fix it, and some I got a lot of osteo treatment through that time as well. Really helped.
All right, so Biwa, you've decided to pull out because obviously the hammy was gone, you blew the time, and you still wanted to sort of have something to race again before the qualifying window closed. Now, you were unable to get a spot over there in London, which is unfortunate, but your old running coach, Gregor, had a connection and got you into Warsaw there, and that was on the last day of the qualifying period, so, geez, the pressure's on now, Liam. And you wanted to run a 2:15 and you ran a 2:14:58. Finally achieved your dream of racing for Australia at the Olympics. So that was a relief for everybody, definitely for yourself, but everyone else that was following along. Yeah, then 4 months later, you towed the line over there in Rio with Michael Shelley and Scott Westcott. Now, things didn't really go that great. I wouldn't say it was probably the perfect day for you with that. I think you had a bit of a slip at the start of the race and you rolled your ankle. Is that right? And it took you a while to sort of find your comfort zone in that race as well?
Yeah, so probably wasn't an ideal prep. I guess I think it was the day that I got announced on the team, I had a race down at Great Ocean Road. I did a 14K race, and I stayed the night down in an accommodation, a house that I hadn't been to before, and I was walking out the front to go get my bag. This was just after the race. I was walking out the front to go grab my bag from the car, and I missed a flight of 3 stairs, and I fell like kind of forward and jarred my foot. And then I had a few issues for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but I had an absolute guru, osteo, Steve Deneen, and he got me back to normal. I had no issues with it whatsoever. And it was a couple of weeks where I was struggling a little bit, but then, with his treatments, he got me back to normal, and I didn't really feel it. That was right up until the warm-up, where I slipped during the warm-up, just doing a bit of out and back, because there wasn't much, like many places where you could run for the warm-up. So there's a lot of people just going up and back, and you're kind of dodging people. And on a turn that I was doing to run back the other way, I kind of slipped out and kind of aggravated that jarred ankle, and I pretty much felt it every single step of the race. So that wasn't ideal, but
what's going through your mind right there? Like, how do you sort of shut that out and say, like, it'll be right, it'll come good? Just like, that must be tough. There must be lots of swear words.
Oh, I just my luck. It just seems like everything seemed to be going wrong for me that year with the qualification period, and just that happening at the start line. Yeah. And I guess I could feel it a little bit throughout the race, but I wouldn't necessarily think that was the major thing that went wrong with my race in Rio. I kind of felt it was this drink station, maybe at about the 25k mark. I went, grabbed a drink, and I had this idea of once I got through the halfway mark, I'd storm through the field and try and negative split. And I seemed to be picking up a whole heap of places through the middle section of the race. And I was flying past everyone. And I went to this drink station, grabbed a drink, and I think I might have went too long without taking a breath whilst having a sip. And I got this instant flush through the legs. My legs went heavy, and I went from flying past everyone to running the exact same pace as everyone. And then maybe 10k later, all the guys I was flying past was coming past me. So I don't know. I think that was probably my major problem with the Rio run, but I still managed 31st overall out of, I think it was about 180. And I kind of set before the race a goal of top 30 was kind of the pass mark. So I didn't quite get it, but with all things said and how the race panned out, I think that was fairly reasonable effort.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, first Aussie home and 2:16.12. So what sort of time were you running, do you think you're on for that day?
Oh, I think I should have finished maybe, there was 2 guys I was coming through the field with, and I think they finished around 20th. I think they ran about 2:14 something, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so about 2 minutes or so I kind of bled over that last 17k.
And that famous photo of it looks like you're wobbly as, mate, but that was you slipping on a line apparently. It looks like you've got a major bonk, but
yeah, well, at the start of the race, because it was just bucketing down rain, everyone was slipping over at the start, and then I think it started to get pretty heavy again towards the finish line when I was finishing. So I think the first couple of guys in front, the guys a couple of places ahead of me were slipping a little bit, and then I nearly fell over. I slid across the line, and then Meb, who was maybe 2 spots behind me, he slipped over before getting to the finish line, and I don't know if you saw it. He just made a bit of a joke about it and started doing some push-ups on the finish line, and then just before crossing the line, and then got across the line. And I think just after that, they decided to get someone out with the towels and keep wiping it down every time someone got close to that finish line.
All right. So keeping on the marathon theme, which all we'll do tonight, is 2017. You head over to Berlin. 9th, mate, 2:12.52. So that's a huge result. That's obviously a PB by a couple of minutes.
Yeah. So it was a PB by about a minute, and I kind of I guess I'd had all these issues with races before that, and like the preparation before Rio, and then obviously Rio didn't go well. So I think my debut marathon was a 2:14.09, and then my next marathon was a 2:13.49 or something like that at Glasgow Commonwealth Games. So I kind of feel like I should have been running those type of times that I did in Berlin, or even quicker than what I did in Berlin. But it was just kind of like, just because everything was going wrong in those previous years, it was good to just get a good solid PB by like a minute or so. Yeah, just show that I've been doing a bit of progression, which was kind of funny because that prep for Berlin, things weren't going that great. I think there was lots of days that I had to have off just because of being absolutely exhausted from work or a little bit of sickness and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just thought I was going to Berlin and I thought I wasn't going to run that well, and managed to exceed my expectations and run a personal best and finish top 10 at a world majors. So,
definitely.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that result. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great result, but did you actually feel really good and in control the whole time?
Yeah, I did. I felt pretty good. I was slipping out a bit towards the finish line just because it was a bit wet. It wasn't an ideal race again. I don't know. I just seem to be cursed with all these bad weather races.
Yeah.
So I was slipping out a bit towards the end, but I was just picking up person after person after person. So there's a lot of confidence coming through, and there's a bit of a pack that I had running with, and I was kind of running away from most of the guys. And I think there's about 3 of us which kind of broke away from the pack. We had a bit of a sprint finish at the end, and I think I finished off pretty strong. So yeah, I was really happy with that run, and it showed a bit of progression. So it was a good result.
Yep. And did that result get you onto the Com Games in 18 up on the Goldie, or?
Yes, it did. That was my qualifying standard that got me onto that team.
Now, that was a great day, but a memorable day. It was fantastic to see Shelley win back-to-back, golds in the marathon. That's absolutely huge, wasn't it? Silver before that. So like a silver and 2 golds in 3 Com Games. It's fantastic.
Absolutely incredible result. He just knows how to do it on the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, very, very smart runner, and he produces it when he's wearing that green and gold.
How did you got 2:21:08 finishing 5th. How did you consider your race that day?
It was another shocker. So I was up there with the front guys, and there's a little bit of tactics towards the halfway mark, and there's quite a few aggressive surges, and kind of covered them. I think in one of the surges that I kind of covered, I kind of knew instantly that I can feel it, and I was getting a bit of a sting from it, and I kind of backed it off a bit. I think I'd done the damage, and it was kind of just a slow fade from there.
So it wasn't starting to cramp up or the legs locking up? It was just running out of path. That's all you had?
A very bad slow fade. There's a couple of other little niggles and stuff like that which were causing problems, but it was just poor running by me and not knowing the conditions well enough.
Callum Hawkins.
Well, that's it. He's an incredible runner, and
sure.
I think since Gold Coast he's done another hot marathon at the World Champs.
Yes,
and
he performed well.
Oh, he did, so
all right, October 2018, you head down and you win Melbourne in 2:15:13. Awesome. And then only 4 weeks later, you head over to the Kobe Marathon in Japan and you finish second with a 2:14:38. Sort of got to ask the reason 2 marathons so close to each other, and sort of how far out had you made that decision to do those 2 marathons, and how well did you sort of perform so good in those 2 marathons? I mean, that's a fast turnaround, mate.
Well, I'd made the plans probably around Gold Coast Half Marathon. I thought it was around then where I kind of confirmed with Kobe Marathon that I'd do it. And I just wanted to test the body out and see how well I could back up after a marathon. And it proved out quite well.
It did. Yeah. How did you actually, I mean, obviously, great result. You pretty much ran, 20 to 35 seconds faster. But how did it actually feel? Did you actually feel stronger in the first one than you did in the second one, than you did the first?
Well, both of those marathons I had blister issues. So
do you ever do a race, Liam, that you don't have any issues? Is that your dream goal? People say how fast you want to run a marathon. You say no, I just want to do one without any issues. Fantastic weather.
Well, I still haven't got a fantastic weather marathon yet. I'm still waiting for that day.
Yeah.
I guess Yeah, I think I've always had a few little issues in all
Mm.
my marathons. But yeah, I did Melbourne Marathon in a pair of Adios and got blisters from that. And then the next race I did in Kobe Marathon, I decided to change the shoes and I wore a pair of Next Percents. And I had a little bit of the same plan as what I did for Rio, where I decided, all right, I'm going to run through the field and come home strong in the last half. And I kind of executed that fairly well, but I think it was about the 27K mark where I started getting, I could feel this massive blister underneath my foot. I just basically limped towards the finish line, but I still managed to get second. And I think I was slightly closing in on the guy who won it. It's just,
So his winning time was 2:14 something as well, or?
I could see him. He was
Okay.
in the distance, but I
Yeah.
was like closing the gap. I think he might have been about 30 seconds
Yeah.
in front of me,
Was
40
he a
seconds in
Japanese
front.
runner?
No, he was a Moroccan.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a Moroccan first and a Moroccan third, sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, I was in between them.
In between a Moroccan and a hard place. There you go.
Yeah.
In between those two marathons, do you just recover from Melbourne, jog for a week or so, let everything sort of settle down, maybe do one or two sort of marathon sessions, and then just go into the next one? Like, you couldn't have done a lot in between.
Well, I kind of got straight back into the running. I just like a little bit of light running for the first half a week, and then I actually raced the Burnie 10K a week after that marathon, and I came second behind Stewie.
Yeah.
But he absolutely destroyed me, and he absolutely destroyed the course record. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of ran solo in that a bit.
It's not always good to go back and look at what you've done before, but do you look at that period and go, geez, I was fit, I was going really, really well, and try to figure out why?
I do sometimes. I do look back and I go, geez, like I was running so well, or training was going so well. Kind of just like certain sessions kind of remind me of certain training sessions I did back in the past or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just go, oh, geez, that used to come a bit easier than what it does now. Or
Yeah.
then again, there's some sessions that I do now which are a lot better than what I used to do. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it might come a little bit harder just with the recovery and stuff like that, just
Yeah.
because just balancing the work, full-time work and
Yeah.
that.
All right, 2019, Gold Coast hold the Oceania Marathon Championships. That was added extra because it benefit, I should say, because it had the points there, being the Oceania Championships that's going to help your Tokyo Olympic campaign. I think they also had cash incentive. I don't know if they do that every year, but there was an extra 40 grand for any male that sort of broke the 210. Was that
Yeah,
just for that Oceania, or is that what they do every year?
they might have implemented that maybe the year before.
So would that be
That
sitting up there this year, or?
could possibly be there, but yeah, I haven't really checked into that if they
Yeah.
have it this year.
Yeah.
Maybe COVID reasons and the fact that they didn't have the race last year. Maybe budgets don't allow them to put up that type of cash
Okay.
grab
Yeah.
or anything like that. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I just haven't heard about it.
So yeah, 40k for sub 210 male and sub 225 for female. Obviously, the Olympic qualifying standard 2:11:30, and hate to bring this up again, but it's a great story, and the Liam Adams story is 2:11:36, finishing sixth. Now we spoke
Yeah.
about this last time I had you on, and I asked whether you knew you were that close, and you knew you were sort of really, really running close to that. Because the last couple of kilometres, I mean, we might as well go through it again, but I think you were running about 2:10 pace, and then something happened towards the end. Maybe it was just getting hot and it started to get to you, and
Oh,
you knew you were dropping time, and you thought, oh, I don't know if I can do it.
Oh, well, there was a large section of that race because it was a really windy day. Generally, you never get winds like that at Gold Coast
Unless
or Gold Coast
Liam's there,
Marathon.
and then it happens.
Well, basically, yeah. If I'm racing, you're
Yeah.
going to get that.
I'll
So
know not to follow you around. Yeah.
that weekend, they closed all the beaches just because of the winds and
Yeah, okay.
just that it was bringing large waves and whatever else. Yeah, I sailed through with a bit of a good tailwind through the middle section, and I think I got myself to about I think I was on sub 210 pace at about maybe the 35k mark, and when I made the turn around for the last 7k into the wind, Yeah, maybe I was a little bit cooked coming into the wind, but yeah, I just was in no man's land, and it was just a hell of a last 7K. So I was going pretty slow that last 7K, unfortunately, and yeah, blew out a lot of time. So yeah, I went from roughly around 2:10 pace to hoping and trying to get that 2:11:30, like what the original plans were, and yeah, unfortunately fell 6 seconds short.
And then I think there was a hope that maybe because it was the Oceania Marathon Championships that might sort of help you out.
Well, the original plans to do that Gold Coast Marathon was to go get some points, because I thought that maybe that was going to be like the wisest thing to do, just try and chase points, because no one had really been running sub 2:11:30s in the previous years, and I thought, yeah, points were probably going to be what everyone was going to be chasing coming into the Olympics. So, But before that Gold Coast Marathon, Brett and Jack both ran some awesome times in London. So they got underneath that 2:11:30, which meant that third spot probably now has to be time. If you're going to try and make the team, it was a 2:11:30 you need to run. So it kind of changed my idea of running for points to chasing that qualifying time 2:11:30. Yeah, that became the new target.
So that's July, and then total line over there in Berlin in September. Because obviously Berlin's a great place to go to chase that 2:11:30. Obviously going to be a lot of guys there forming a group to do that. But yeah, unfortunately a bit of a workplace incident in the weeks leading up to it. The old mask came off in the roof cavity, took in a lungful of dust and made you pretty crook. Yeah. But you jumped on the plane, went over there hoping for the best, but unfortunately, that illness leading in has sort of dealt a bit of a blow.
Yeah,
I had to do your second DNF, which I know you didn't really want to have to do, but again, it was all about leaving something in the body to have another shot at it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think I spoke to you a couple of days before that race, and reality was I had a bit of a chest infection for a month, probably a month and a half, and I wasn't quite over it. I knew it was still affecting me for that race, but I just paid previously, before I got sick, I'd paid $5,500 for flights, accommodation, and whatever else. So I was just like, well, I'm not going to let that go to waste. I just thought it's just a free shot, basically, to try and get the qualifying standard. And I think I was on it for maybe 25 to 30K. And I just started falling off it pretty quickly after that. And the chest wasn't going too well. And I think once again, I decided to make the effort of just, I decided that it was probably best that I pulled out at about roughly around the 35K mark again. And I just didn't want to make it any worse than what it was. So I was coughing a fair bit during that last 5K.
You're doing all right psychologically, mate, to be able to just keep getting up and getting back into it again. I tell you what, you're tough as nuts.
You need that resilience being a Carlton
obviously,
supporter,
mate. I wonder if you do it to yourself sometimes, mate. Life's getting a bit too comfortable. Yeah. Now, in mid-December, you head over to Taipei, I should say, in Taiwan, and you sort of jog out of 2:38.24. Now, I'm just sort of thinking about that. Is that just, obviously, a bit of a pay trip and some pocket money, but is that so the race organisers to sort of maintain some sort of level status for their race?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
So, I was just training like normal, just a slow build-up through that period of time. And, I got a message within a week of a marathon. They were in desperate need of a gold, silver, or bronze labeled athlete, and at the time I was a bronze label athlete. Yeah, these races need a certain amount of labeled athletes to start on their start line and cross the finish line for them to retain their labeled status. So they had quite a few labeled athletes, but with quite a few of the Kenyans, they just go to these races and chase for the pocket money. So they're a bit concerned that quite a few of them will pull out of the race once they realise that they're out of the prize money pool. So they kind of asked myself and maybe a couple of other runners from Europe if we could do the race and just make sure that we get to the finish line and help them retain their labelled status. So the idea was just to go do a bit of a training session and that's kind of what I did. I kind of tried to help out a fellow Aussie who was racing, Marnie Ponton, and she was trying to chase a fast time there. So I went and paced her for about half of it, and I kind of promised my coach that I wouldn't run too hard. So I kind of backed off a little bit and just jogged to the finish line. And I caught a couple of the other female runners towards the end. I think it might have been a sixth place female runner, and she was like begging me to try and help pace her to get her to the finish line. And so there were like a few people that I helped pace that day, and I just did it as a bit of a training session. And an all expenses paid trip, which had a little bit of pocket money as well. So
what, just over a few days and straight back to work?
Yeah, basically. So I flew out, I think it was Friday night, and then I actually had the Monday off as well. I'd asked work for the Monday off, so flew back on the Monday. It wasn't too bad. They flew me premium economy as well, so it was a good day.
Oh, there you go. Stretch the legs out. Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet. Nice little Christmas present for you.
Yeah, they don't really come around that often for me. So.
Sure. No, take it while you get it, mate.
Yeah.
8th of March 2020, fly back over to Lake Biwa once again. Now, conditions, because Liam was there, were far from perfect. Inclement weather at the start there, and the outbreak of a COVID pandemic, which we all know we can blame on you now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Must have been you. So, awesome. Finally, mate, I was watching that. I was just stressing on watching the stream, waiting to see you the jersey pop around on the track. But once again, you grind your way to the finish and you're running your 2:10:48, which was the fastest qualifying time. So, in the number one seat there, as you mentioned before, with Brett Robinson and Jack Rayner running in London. Brett ran 2:10:55, Jack 2:11:06. So, your 2:10:48, number one spot. So, that must have been awesome relief, to finally do it. And still not exactly confident you're going to be get to Tokyo, because you don't know what's coming up. But considering what you've been through, it must have been insane feeling.
Oh, definitely. Well, just once again, things didn't go too well. So the start of my preparation, we had those fires, basically Victoria, New South Wales and whatever else. And I was looking to go up to Falls Creek and do some altitude training for that preparation. And the fires had caused the evacuation of Falls Creek and whatever else. So I couldn't get up until a lot later than I would have liked. Basically in my first week up at Falls Creek, when I finally got up there, just with all the smoke and the issues that we were still having a little bit of smoke issues up there, I was just like, I don't think I've got enough time to do a good proper preparation for Lake Biwa. So I kind of was looking towards getting into London Marathon, and I sent a few messages out and tried to get into London Marathon, and once again some politics there, and I couldn't get into that field, so I just had to go all out and give it my all. And basically I did a hard block of training up at Falls Creek, took some time off work, and got myself into some pretty good shape. But I still kind of thought that I might have been slightly underdone, and felt like I could get myself into a little bit better shape. But I kind of knew that I was in sub 2:11:30 shape, and that was the aim once I was there. But once I got into the whole travel was I had issues with my flights. It's a delayed flight out of Melbourne, meant that I missed my international flight from Sydney to Tokyo, Sydney to Osaka, which meant that I had to spend 12 hours in Sydney and then fly into Tokyo.
What, just sitting in the terminal for 12 hours, or?
They gave me, for an apology for their delays and whatever else, they gave me a hotel room for half a day. So I still had to spend 6 hours in the terminals.
Did you get to sleep for that 6 hours in the hotel room? Or?
I decided to, make the most of it, have a sleep in the hotel room, and then once I got back into the airport, it was just basically wait around for this plane. And then that plane flying out of Sydney ended up being delayed. So when I arrived in Tokyo, I missed my connecting flight. I then had to spend another half a day at Tokyo airport waiting around. So by the time that I got to Lake Biwa, or at the race hotel, it was late afternoon, Friday just before the race, and I was racing Sunday morning. So it wasn't ideal preparation, and I was a bit pissed off and stressed out. And then, just things where just looking at the predicted weather, I was just like, I just can't catch a break here. Race day, it was freezing cold, wet, windy, and horrible conditions for a race. And what happened at the start line was we were on the start line about to go, and they had some technical issues with the starter's gun or the timing system. So we're standing on the start line waiting to go, kind of in a ready position, and it went on for more than 10 minutes. We're standing at the start line, so they've just decided to delay the race by another 10 minutes. So we kind of ran back underneath the grandstand to try and get warm, and my back was kind of seizing up because it was just so cold, and quads were a little bit tight. And we went in, everyone's kind of huddling behind, like, kind of get close to these heaters and whatever else. And I was looking around, searching for something to keep myself warm, and I thought, I might as well steal someone's poncho and wear it for maybe 5K, the first 5K, to try and warm up again. So decided to wear that poncho to kind of keep warm and that until I was finally warm, and then was ideally wanted to throw it at around the 5K mark. But that poncho was kind of a bit like a parachute, so it was collecting all this air. So I kind of got rid of it a bit early, maybe at about the 2.5K mark into the race. I decided to throw it away just because it was a bit restrictive. And another day where just things weren't going well. And early on in the race, like from the starter's gun, I kind of had tight quads, and just felt them the whole way. And I was just hoping and praying that whole race that they weren't going to go. I wasn't going to get cramping or anything like that.
I mentioned last time we spoke about this, and the telecast, it was showing obviously at the front, all you guys were there, and I could see you get rid of the poncho out to the side, and then the group started to split up. I think it was about the 10K mark, and then we sort of lost sight of you. Every now and then we'd see you sort of disappearing by yourself and no one else around you, and I'm thinking, oh no, he's going to be stuck on his own on this terrible weather. It's going to make it so hard. But I remember you saying that it wasn't too bad. You eventually started to have a couple of guys to run with, some that were coming back to you from that front group.
Yeah, they kind of started off slow early on, because we'd all kind of lost our warm-up just by standing around for so long. I think some of the high-profile managers told the pacemakers to kind of start off slow and then build it up a bit towards the end. And we were bunched early on, and I found myself right up at the front and felt pretty good. And I rolled around with that pack for, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12K. And then they really started ramping it up a bit. So they were running a few 255s per K. And I just thought, that's probably a bit too hot. So I kind of let them go, and I just kind of went solo from there. And I had a little bit of a pack, maybe till about 17K. Oh, maybe not even that. I think it was about 15K. And then I was just like, yep, you have to run solo here. These guys are blowing up a bit. The reason why they didn't go with the pack was probably because they were already blowing up. So, it was solo from there, and just had to time trial it into the wind. Just had no help. And then because I had missed the race briefing on the Friday, I was still unsure of what the rules were. So it was an out and back course. So the road was shut, but a lot of the Japanese runners were always sticking to the left side of the road. They would never run the tangents of the road. And I kind of stuck with that type of thought process. So I wasn't kind of going onto the other side of the road to make it the closest possible distance to the marathon. I kind of stuck to the left side of the road because I thought maybe that was the rules, but when I got towards the pointy end of the field, I noticed a lot of the international guys and a few of the Japanese runners, which were at the front of the field, they were running the tangents. So they were on the other side of the road. And I kind of lost a bit of time through that. And I don't know, there was points towards the end of that race where the wall of wind was just constant, and I just knew it was going to take a whole mental effort to just keep grinding into that wind to get that qualifying standard. And that was just in my mind the whole last 20 Ks, I guess. Like, it was just you need to keep the pace hot right now. You need to keep churning out fast Ks and keep pushing because it was going to come down to seconds maybe at the end. With what happened at Gold Coast Marathon, I just knew I just couldn't switch off for a second. I ran through the field, and I think I might have ended up about 13th spot, and and ran at least 42 seconds underneath the qualifying standard. I think it might have been one of the fastest times since Lee Troop ran. So might have been the fastest time by an Australian for 13 years. So I was pretty happy with that result.
So that takes us up to where we are now. Obviously, no other runner was able to sort of better those times due to that limited racing opportunities and COVID. So
I'd kind of looked towards doing Lake Biwa again this year, and I did this really good preparation leading towards it, and it wasn't until halfway through my marathon prep, and I guess I kind of knew that it was a bit of a toss of the coin of whether I would be able to race at Lake Biwa again or not. But I found out halfway through my marathon prep for this year's Lake Biwa that I wasn't able to. They weren't really allowing international runners to run because they had Japan at the time had a 2-week quarantine at Tokyo airport, right? Like a hotel at the Tokyo airport, and the race directors couldn't organise or confirm that we would be able to get treadmills in there. So I basically knew that was going to be a pointless thing to do. It was going to be too much money to spend on that trip.
So there may have been an opportunity for someone else to actually do that.
Yeah, okay. I think there was a couple of runners which tried to go chase some times overseas. I think one runner went to Canada in the last maybe month or so to try and get a qualifying standard, and I think they may have run about 2:13 something, 2:14. So I wanted to get there because I wanted to improve my personal best, and I thought that a sub 2:10 should have been on the cards, and I reckon I got myself into that type of shape. I had a really good marathon prep, even though I'd been told that I wasn't going to be able to race this marathon in Lake Biwa. I kind of thought, well, the previous year had been just absolutely shocking training with just COVID restrictions in Melbourne, and it really affected my training, and I put a really big focus on work just because there was no races that I could do last year. So I just focused on work, and the training took a bit of a back seat, and just hour limits on runs and curfew times meant that I couldn't train every single day. So I kind of thought that I'd use this prep, like this original Lake Biwa prep, as like a big training block to try and make up for last year's lack of mileage and stuff like that. And I thought that I could bank this all this training and kind of use it towards the Olympics if I got selected. So I kind of feel that training never went to waste, even though I never got to go do this race, which ended up being the best depth race that has ever been ran. So I was absolutely shattered.
Oh, mate, it'll come, I'm sure, mate. I'm sure. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, Rio, you got on the last day of qualifying, and when you think about Tokyo, it was probably the last race that it was actually able for you to actually qualify in because of what actually happened afterwards. So you're just always getting through on the last skin, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, if COVID hadn't taken place, what marathons would you have done since Lake Biwa that you qualified in and now? And you're saying obviously you would have done Biwa this year. Would you have done some other marathons in between?
Well, if there was the opportunity to race another one, I probably would have taken it up.
Just because you wanted to, you felt you just could improve on that PB, which may not happen in Sapporo because of the weather you're going to come up against?
Well, I kind of took it like just because last year, just being under the restrictions and the curfews and whatever else, and could only run an hour per day, it wasn't going to be an ideal preparation. So I just kind of wanted something there to try and keep the focus on and have something to train towards in the meantime, just to keep the motivation up and that. And the opportunity never came around. There was one race that I was looking at, but then the race director said, no, it's been cancelled. So, and they cancelled it pretty early in my prep. So then it was just like another race cancelled, or it's just, the motivation was just pushed back a little bit further just because another race had been postponed. So,
I mean, it was obviously nicer for you that you already ran your 2:10:48. I mean, there's obviously the other guys there who wanted badly to race because they hadn't ran the qualifier. You know. Yeah. I know Harry Summers was over in Kenya and he was chasing a marathon, and he obviously ran out of time. I'm not too sure what he's up to now, but
Well, I think the fact that they postponed the Olympics allowed everyone to reset and get a good training block in, and some guys which may have been injured who wouldn't have been able to get a marathon in before the qualification period end. They ended up getting another opportunity to chase that Olympic dream. At the end of the day, I think, just COVID affected all these races and just made it tough for guys to go overseas and try and chase these qualifying standards. It was just a massive overlay for people. So they'd be paying for their flights, accommodation,
and not knowing how long they're going to be over there for and when they can get home.
Exactly. And the talks were for you to kind of try and get yourself back home. You'd have to pay for like a premium economy or a business class ticket to try and get home. So that was like the little trick of trying to fast track yourself getting home over everyone else. So that was going to be an expensive ticket. And then you also had to factor in hotel quarantine, 2 weeks in a hotel and spend $3,500 for the hotel quarantine. So there was lots of money that we were going to have to kind of fork out. So
but all us runners are rich, you know, we earn a fortune. What sponsors you got, Liam? And we don't have time to go through them all at the moment. But
it'll take a whole of 1 second. Zilch.
That's it. It's sad, mate, but we'll leave that for another time. But hopefully it'll all change. Look, the men's marathon is going to be raced up there in Sapporo, Sunday the 8th of August, the last day of the Olympics as usual. It starts at 7 o'clock your time, 8 o'clock our time. So it's going to be either early Sunday morning run or a late run for us, because we'll all be tuned in watching it. So obviously they moved that up. It's 830 k's north of Tokyo. I've just looked there. It's 7.5 hours by the bullet train, or a 17-hour drive. So it is a lot further north of Tokyo than what I thought. I had a look on the map and right up the north end there. So that was obviously to try to get more favourable sort of climate, but apparently it's still going to be pretty hot, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe the whole idea behind that was at the time of morning, Tokyo is 8 degrees warmer than Sapporo at that time of the morning.
Okay.
So
that's a lot, isn't it? 8 degrees. Wow. So what is the expected temperature that they've told you guys on race morning?
Anywhere between 22 degrees and 25, I believe.
And humidity, or?
Still going to be humid, but not as humid as, say, Tokyo.
Right,
so
60s
I believe
or something like that, 70s maybe.
Yeah, I think Tokyo was just going to be absolutely brutal temperature. And I guess from all the heat that the Commonwealth Games copped for the marathon with what happened with Hawkins and then
the World Champs.
And then the world champs as well. Those brutal conditions. They thought, we needed to do something about this.
Marathon's not hard enough, and they chuck you out in this, like Beijing and Athens, and like it just doesn't stop. Let's just pick the hottest country to go to and run a marathon.
I think a lot of the times it's based around TV audiences and stuff like that. What's the most ideal time for the largest TV audience? So that's kind of one of the reasons why a World Championships marathon hasn't really appealed to me, was just the fact that there's always in brutal conditions and there was never really a thought process behind it. And I don't know, ideally I just wanted to try and run faster and get PBs. So hopefully well, it's looking like Eugene might be a good one to do. So that might be my first World Champs team doing a marathon.
I'd ask the question, when do you guys actually fly out? And I believe you go straight to Sapporo. You're not actually going to Tokyo. Is that right?
I've been hearing a little bit of information.
Right.
From what I understood originally, there was going to be a separate hotel away from the village for like the walkers and the marathon runners in Sapporo. I don't know. I heard someone.
So when you say
recently
village, they actually got a village in Sapporo for like,
it's
no.
just going to be a race hotel.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it'll be a lot different to
Sure.
the village.
Of course. Yeah.
But then I heard recently that they might throw us in the village because I guess maybe because just quarantine type issues and whatever else. So
Right.
it's either going to be we're staying in a hotel in Sapporo and it's going to be pretty strict hotel quarantine type conditions where we'll be in the hotel and then we'll only be able to really go out and maybe do training and then basically back to the hotel and whatever else. So you won't really be able to adventure out anywhere else. Or we might be in the village where you'll have a little bit more room. Yeah, you just run the issue of if there's a little outbreak in the village, then if you're regarded as a close contact, then it's going to be an automatic 2-week quarantine.
Right. Yeah.
But there's talks that if you've had the COVID jab, then you might not be subjected to that 2-week quarantine in Japan, but you'll still have a 2-week quarantine coming home. So I believe that we're flying out of we fly from Cairns to Sydney, then Sydney into Tokyo. I think maybe we land 4 days before the event, which I think it's going to be fine.
Okay.
We'll fly. I think it's a flight to Tokyo, then a flight from Tokyo the next day into Sapporo. So we're not there for a great deal of time.
Yeah.
But we're in the same time zone, so that's not going to be a factor. In fact, it's probably going to work out a lot better for us. But
for sure.
I guess the only issue is heat acclimatization, which hopefully Cairns conditions is basically the same as Sapporo. So that's the only really issue that we might have with a close kind of flight to the race. Yeah.
So it's just the marathon and is it 20K walk or 50K walk, or what's happening with the walks these days?
Yeah. I think the walks will be before us.
Yeah.
I think they might be about midway through the program, maybe one of the first events in the athletic program. So athletic program usually starts in the second week.
It's awesome for us viewers, mate, to be able to watch it in real time. Not have to wait up all night to watch these events. It's going to be the 1500 finals on the night before the marathon, so might be up a little bit late for that. But
I'll probably be tuning into that one too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So
it's going to be awesome. You'd normally be racing the Sydney Morning Herald half marathon, but that's obviously normally on in May, but got put off. Now it's a week before Gold Coast, and I reckon by what's happened today that will probably get cancelled. Last time I looked on Facebook, they hadn't officially cancelled it, but I can't see how there's going to be a half marathon there this weekend.
The numbers yesterday, they're a bit scary. Yeah, I feel sorry for the race director for Sydney Morning Herald, because they've been working for a very long time to get these events, and they've been working with all these other events to they've all been helping each other out with their COVID programs and protocols and whatever else, because apparently they've been finding it really hard to deal with the government in getting these mass participation events and whatever else. So they finally got an event ready to go, and then just
last few days it's all come undone.
From what I've been seeing, the race is still going ahead. So I was originally entered for that race, but once it got postponed and pushed back to a week before Gold Coast, I kind of thought that I probably shouldn't do two half marathons in a week.
Yeah,
and that
come on, two marathons in 4 weeks. Hey?
Yeah.
I mean, Sydney's been kind to you. Look, six times you've done it with 4 wins in 2 seconds. So it's a favourite spot for you.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's a tough, hilly half marathon. So I I've done it so many times that I now know, like, if I was to go run a certain time, then I know exactly what shape I'm in. So
Yeah, no, looking at your times,
yeah,
there was actually 2 years, 14 and 17, you ran the same time, 65:11. But the other ones,
yeah,
yeah, 65:36, 64:36. Yeah, 2019, you won 62:51. So that's pretty quick on that course. Any reason why you ran a lot faster? Were you just in better shape? Was there any other reasons or?
Well, generally, I think most of those times that I've done Sydney Morning Herald half marathon, I'm going from athletic season into cross country season, so I'm kind of coming off a little bit of a break and whatever else. So it's like one of my first races back. So yeah, I guess I haven't really been too fit for those half marathons, and then the most recent one that I did, that was kind of early on in my marathon prep for Gold Coast.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah, I wanted a really good hit out over a half marathon and knew I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, ran a fast time there and yeah, just wanted to build on that after that. So,
Yeah. Did you win
I
by a bit
guess
or
that,
did you drag the second guy along with you? Because that's obviously substantially
um,
faster than your other wins.
yeah, the second guy went with me, but the guy who came second, yeah, he beat me the year before. Yeah, he went with me. Then yeah,
Mm,
I just kept
mm.
churning out a quick pace and then just put distance on him. So I think I won by, I think it might have been over a minute,
Yeah,
maybe a minute and a half, maybe.
yeah. I would
I
think
don't
so.
know.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at the results.
yeah,
I'm not quite sure,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I did put a fair bit of distance on the second guy, so went solo for that one.
So you mentioned you're going up the goalie. Obviously you've done that a few times here. I see you won it in 2012, 63:28. 2013, fifth in 64:49, which is slower than your other times. So I'll ask about that one in a sec. Then 15, you went second in 63:29, and then 17, you went second in 63:49. So you got, yeah, 63:28, 63:49, 63:29. There you go. You're just like a
Yeah.
robot. You just find your beat and stick to it. It looks like. And then yeah,
Yeah.
13, 64:49 and fifth. So was there any particular reason why it was a bit off that year?
I was sick
Okay.
that race just before it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't ideal. So, yeah, I just had a pretty off day. I kind of knew that I wasn't going to run well. But, yeah, I don't know. I just seemed to get all these bad chest infections. And I guess it's probably linked to me being an ex-asthmatic. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And hopefully not getting
Yeah.
in too many roof cavities these days as a sparky. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a bit different now. I've
Yeah.
over this last year, well, since COVID started, I've been doing a bit of solar. So
Okay. Yep.
I've been doing solar sparky work,
Yep.
and yeah,
So you're getting sunburnt instead.
sunburned, and then just
Dehydrated.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. You get some brutal days on the roof where
I
it's
bet.
way too hot,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you get other days where it's absolutely freezing and your
Yeah.
nose is dripping like a tap,
Yeah.
and yeah, the cold air's getting to the chest. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then have to go home and do a
and,
session. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Get home, get warm, and then go do a session in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cold.
Yeah, that's unreal. All right, so goalie, you're heading up there. Obviously, it's going to be great this year. It's certainly a different field with, I guess, just the domestic field, and I guess a couple of Kiwis will come over. But yeah, a chance for some Aussies to shine up front and pick up some pocket money. So, what's the plan, to go up there and just do what Liam does, race as hard as you can, or is there any other sort of motives around it, or? And
Well,
actually, are the other guys racing? How many of the other marathon team boys and girls are actually going to be doing that race?
so all of the Australian Marathon Olympic team are doing the half marathon. Yeah, so
Okay, they're
they've
all
all
doing it.
seen
Yeah,
that.
okay, yep.
Yeah, they've all seen that as an ideal race in preparation
Yep.
towards the Olympics. So yeah,
Okay.
we've all got that in plan, and I guess yeah, we all want to use that as a race to kind
Okay.
of just to gauge where we're at, and obviously I believe we'd all be trying to run PBs there. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, we want to try and run fast there and show that we're in good form and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
some confidence on that, and then obviously build after that race and do the last little prep and use that race to help us with the last
Mm.
preparation. So the icing on the cake before the
Yeah.
Olympics. Yeah.
That'd be 5 weeks between the two, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, August.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
early
think we're
August
6.5
racing.
weeks
Yeah.
from today, so it must be 5 weeks from Goldie.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, that's going to be awesome, man. I'm going to be loving watching that. And and for the marathon, I mean, there's a lot of guys have been getting fit, had Goldie sort of focused for quite a while now, so it's going to be a great weekend, definitely.
Well, yeah, I guess on the Australian scene, everyone's been searching for a marathon to do, and no one's
Yep.
been able to go overseas. So I guess the guys which didn't make the Olympic teams, they're all looking for fast marathon times, or maybe fast half marathon times too at Gold Coast. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what everyone else does at Gold Coast over the marathon distance, half marathon, or even the 10K. So
Yep.
yeah, there's everyone's kind of been deprived of
Mm.
racing opportunities, and yeah, Gold Coast is a really big one, which just came up on the calendar, and everyone's been wanting to run some fast times there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what everyone does.
How good are you feeling?
Well, after that iron infusion last week, I kind of had a few days where I was pretty ill. I had one day off, just because, yeah, just I don't know if it was the iron infusion or the low white blood cell count,
Yep.
or still some lingering effects from the second Pfizer jab.
Yep. Okay.
Whether that was kind of playing a role in me being a bit sick and whatever else, but
You would think some of it would have to.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a combination of
I would
everything,
think so.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I had a little bit of an off week last week,
Yep.
and I was supposed to do a key marathon session on Sunday, but yeah, the way I was feeling on Saturday, I had the day off, and I literally, like, all my muscles felt pretty weak on the Saturday,
Yep.
and then I just thought, yeah, call the coach and see if I can postpone that till Tuesday, and did my key marathon session. It was 34K in total, where it was basically half of it was at a fast effort, and then the other half was kind of like a bit of a float. And I did that 34K in 1 hour and 36 minutes flat, which is 3:07 pace. So
Yeah.
in
Right.
total,
Yep.
so
Yep. That's good
with
signs.
the float, yeah, with the
Yeah.
floats being in there,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was pretty happy with that.
You pulled up pretty
Yeah,
good after it.
yeah, pulled up pretty well today.
Yep.
Yeah, just a
Yep.
little bit towards the end of the session, I was getting a little bit of some cramps and stuff like that,
Yep.
which I don't know, maybe, yeah, could have been a few things. But overall, good signs. It's the fastest I've done that session. I think my second fastest was maybe 50 seconds slower.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's kind of showing I'm in good shape. And, yeah, just got to see how the leg speed's going over a half marathon distance. But it looks like the legs are pretty good for the longer stuff at the
Yep.
moment.
So when did you say you can head back up to Queensland now?
We're going to go up to Queensland the Thursday just before Gold Coast
Okay. Yep.
marathon. So, yeah, next Thursday we'll be up there.
And you're staying in Canberra until then?
Until then, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's the whole Olympic team's not in Canberra. You said some of them still in Melbourne. Is that right? Or
Well, yeah, we all tried to get out of Melbourne. Well, there was Ali Pashley, who is
on the new yeah.
decided, yeah, she's up in Noosa, and she's
Yep.
been there for a month. So
Yep. Okay.
she's started her heat acclimatization a lot earlier than what we have. And I think, yeah, maybe around when she left, maybe a week later, we all went into lockdown. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
if we had have known that was
Yeah.
going to happen, then
Yeah.
I think a lot of us would have decided to go up early. But then, yeah, quite a few of us were stuck in Melbourne. Yeah, obviously missed the race, and thought, yeah, need to get out. So yeah, myself, Brett Robinson, Jack Rayner, and Sinead, we're in Canberra at the moment. Lisa Waitman's in North New South Wales. So I think she was chasing a bit more heat.
It hasn't been too cold. We've got rain coming tomorrow, mate, so you're going to be wet.
Well, I think the rain's already started now. So it's pretty cold. It's a bit colder than Melbourne. I think there's been 1 or 2 days where some of those winds are just so icy.
Yeah.
They hit the chest, and they just, some horrible feeling.
Guard
They just
yourself,
reminded
mate.
me
Yeah.
reminded me of days of when I was a little kid and just used to absolutely battle through the cold winters in Melbourne. So yeah, I used to get a lot of asthma attacks just basically through just the cold weather, and hit my chest, and then I just cough my guts out, and then yeah.
Hey, what's the situation with returning back to Australia after the Olympics?
So after the marathon, where, like, the Japanese have said, you've got two days to leave straight after your event. So,
Yeah. So you guys obviously you won't go down to Tokyo for the closing ceremony. You'll stay in Sapporo and go out of there.
I'm not sure. They haven't given us the details of
Okay.
whether we go straight to support to Tokyo and then
Yeah.
fly out as a team.
Well,
like
the
with
ceremonies
the
the
remainers.
ceremonies at the closing ceremony, mate, for the marathon medals. So if you pick up a medal, mate, you're going to have to go.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether they'll say you've got to stay at this hotel for the night, or whether they'll chuck us in the Olympic Village for one night.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we're probably going to have to all go on a chartered flight from Tokyo the next day. And
Okay.
I'm not sure where we're flying to. Generally, last time we flew into Sydney, and they had a bit of a ceremony at the Sydney airport, but I'm not sure where we're doing quarantine yet. So it's going to be 2 weeks in a hotel or something like that. Yeah.
And do you actually get tested while you're over there in Sapporo? Do they test you at any stage?
Yeah, I believe they'll be testing non-stop. So I think we have a couple of tests before our flight. We have maybe 3 within 78 hours of our flight.
Right.
And then, we get tested, I think maybe I don't know if it's every day or every second day once we're there. So it's full on. So just gotta hope just make sure that we're not near any. Just can't run the risk of being close to anyone who's sick.
Yeah.
Just because that basically writes off your Olympics.
What about the course? Are you guys going to have a drive around on it when you get over there, or have you got any idea what it's actually doing?
I haven't seen a great deal, but they did have a half marathon maybe a month and a half ago. Maybe a month ago, they had a trial race over the marathon course. And we got to see a little bit of what the course is going to be like. I still want to go over the course. If they'll probably have a bus which goes over the course where everyone can see what the course is like, and I'll probably do that just to get myself familiar with what it's going to be like.
I'm going to close this up soon, mate. I know it's getting late and you've got a big session coming up, but 2022, it's a big year, mate. World Cross, hopefully here in Bathurst, World Champs, as you mentioned, over that newly built stadium at Hayward Field in Oregon, which is going to be huge. What a great place to have it in Eugene. And the Com Games in Birmingham, but that's only, I think I looked, it was basically when the World Champs finishes, the Com Games is like 5 or 6 days later, so it's a quick turnaround. But are you sort of focusing on any of those teams, or maybe all of them, or what's your sort of focus 2022? Obviously, it's all about what's coming up now, but surely you've thought about it.
I think we're still going to have COVID issues up until then. So,
so you think possibly it's going to be the same deal as the Olympics? They'll maybe go ahead, but it's just going to be crowd issues and all that sort of thing.
I guess there might be crowd type issues then and whatever else. So it's just going to be issues with trying to qualify. So I'm thinking that the only opportunities might be domestic, to do a domestic race and try and qualify through that.
Yeah.
And then look at either doing World Champs or Commonwealth Games, or maybe even both. I think I've looked at it, and I think it's possibly a 2 or 3 week turnaround between the marathons. So maybe that could be possible.
Cool. Over in Sapporo, obviously outsprinting Kipchoge for the win, and you running a 2:06 would be a dream result. But if for some reason that doesn't happen, what would a fantastic result personally be for Liam Adams?
I'm thinking similar expectations to maybe Rio. I think maybe I'll look towards maybe a top 20 or something like that. I think if I can try and aim around that, then it should be a good run. And I guess you see what happens on the day. If everything goes well, then maybe try and get a few scalps there and go a bit lower. I guess top 30 could be very challenging too. So I don't know. You just never know with how everyone else's preps are going, and if a top 30 is just going to be an absolutely incredible run for me. Who knows? A top 30 could actually mean that I need to run a personal best. And
what about you, Jack and Brett? Do you guys just run your own race, or is there any sort of team talk there, or?
I think we'll all try and run our own race,
Yep.
but yeah, we'll probably work out whether we're in similar shape and whatever else. And I don't know, some people might have plans to go hard from the start, or we all might talk about being a bit controlled early on and then coming home strong and working as a pack. So I haven't spoken to them about what they're looking at doing, and I guess it's probably a bit too early to try and work that out just yet, because obviously you just got to see how your form goes, and you only really know what shape you're going to be in with a couple of days to go. I think those are the days where you try and work out your race tactics and how you're going to go about it. But I guess if we're all in similar shape and whatever else, then it could be a good idea to try and run hard, work together, and just keep picking everyone off.
Yeah.
We'll just wait and see.
Yeah, no, it's going to be awesome, mate. Awesome. It makes Goldie even more interesting. You know what I mean? A bit more banter on the plane for who's the top dog at Goldie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are those, obviously you're all exceptional runners, so it's going to be fantastic to watch. All right, mate, I'm going to let you go. I'll allow you to smack that session in the rain tomorrow, mate. Thanks heaps once again, mate, for chatting to us. You've always been very kind in giving me your time. I really appreciate it, Liam.
No problems at all.
No, awesome, mate, and all the best with your final prep. And like we said, the big dance in 6.5 weeks. So looking forward to seeing how you go and all the Aussies go.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks.
Fantastic, Liam. Cheers, mate.